Yeah, I still pray.
Yeah.
I think it's so ingrained in me that I still pray. To be honest, I don't actually pray so much to ask for anything, but I do want to pray for. I feel like I need to pray in moments of gratitude. Yeah.
Dude, that's good, man. Even some people that I know who's Christian, they don't even be very thankful, honestly. So like the fact that like you have that is like, that takes a level of consciousness and awareness you have, like, oh.
It's that church voice in your head that's like, you don't even go to church, so you can't ask for anything. Why would you ask for anything?
Yeah.
But when you eat and you just have a meal in front of you, you're like, it still feels weird to just jump right in.
Right.
You know?
Hey everybody, it's your host Jonathan. Man, it's been, I would say like 3 months we haven't recorded. 3 months we haven't recorded because I just felt like I was like just going through so much career change, and also just like with my relationship with God, so many roller coasters up and down. And before I introduce you to the guest, I feel very grateful for this podcast first and foremost, because whoever I bring on, whether we may disagree or agree, especially since elections are coming, I want this place for people to come for healing, comfort, and just come as who they are, because at the end of the day, like, we're not perfect, but we can do our best to serve each other and be there for one another. So with that being said, I know that went pretty deep because obviously I'm pretty tired, if I'm being honest. This week at work has been really hard. But we have my good friend. Not only he's a dancer, I will consider him like a good brother of mine, honestly. Not because we have the same last name, which is dope. I think I'm Korean at this point. I'm like Korean and Chinese, so I'm like Ching. That's bad. That's really bad. I was trying to do whatever, but we have our friend Mike Son on the podcast. Thank you for coming, dog.
Thanks for having me, man.
I'm sorry about the
Chinorian.
Chidori.
Okay, yeah.
Naruto. Exactly, man. But
thanks for having me, man.
I was I thought about you like a month ago for some reason. And not only you would tell me you were like traveling and dancing, but for some reason I was like, I felt like God just putting your name in my heart and saying that like you've been dancing for so long. For some reason, I just want to let you know that, like, I just want you to take the time just to rest your body and rest your soul and your mind, bro. Because we can do so much and we kind of neglect the rest. You feel me? And I also want to extend a thank you, first and foremost, because, like, when I first met you, I think I was like 22, dog. We got drunk on a mountain. Long story short, we were dancing. That was a long time. And we were literally...
And that sounds really bad, man.
Okay, that was really bad. But do you remember
But it was like a really wholesome camp.
It was such a wholesome camp. What we were doing, we were like... What we were saying, though? Like
it was like... that camp was... you know what? It was the year that Paul George went to the Clippers. I don't know why.
Don't remind me.
But it was there's a lot of beautiful activities. Just about like a lot of, I think, shout out to the homies from Eayikes.
Love you, Eayikes. Love you, Ray. Love you, Alex. Love you,
organization. And that they had facilitated an event that was, if I had to, I mean, it's so complex, there's so many layers, but if I had to describe it very quickly, I think they facilitate an environment of just maximum acceptance. Yeah. And I think they do that for all ages, whether there's there's other camps that they've done for younger students, like high school, middle school.
I saw you were teaching some workshops too.
Yeah, and for that camp that we were at, that was for like adults, and to, sometimes there's not that many spaces where you facilitate spaces like that for adults for supreme acceptance, and just there was like icebreaker exercises where you had to introduce yourself to someone by letting them know your what your top was, it like your biggest insecurity.
I hated that. I was like, I just met
and it
these
was
people.
such an interesting experience to just be to disarm yourself and also hear other people disarm themselves. Anyways, long story short, just like those were the means by which we met each other. It's not just partying in the mountains.
I mean, we did that, but like when I remember like when I went there, I was like, whoa, there's so many people who are like older than me, dog. I was like, where am I? Because like it was my first time just like camping with like strangers. I only knew Ray, and then
how old are you now?
Dude, I'm 24, homie.
Do
I look? Wait, do I look? Wait, do I look? Do I look 24? I'm like, please say I look younger, just letting people know, like I look younger, right? Like,
you look younger for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm just.
Well, I don't know. I mean, by Asian standards, you look 24.
Thank you.
But when non-Asians look at you, they probably think you're 16. But I mean, I get the same thing too. Yeah, Asians understand. Asians understand.
That's a blessing.
Non-Asians,
that's a blessing right there.
It's a different gauge.
You know, it's like, back to what I was saying. It's like when I was thinking about you, bro, and when I first met you, I don't know. I was like, this guy is a very in tuned with his spirit. Like I don't know, it's like you have this like welcoming, like oh, let me get to know you, like what's up. And that's exactly how I feel when I talk to Ray. And when we went out one time, and I was just sharing some parts and bits and pieces of my past, and you were like, you want to get to know me better. And for some reason that was very like touching for me, because trust, like we were just talking about, but like trust is a big thing for me. And the fact that you're willing to like break the barriers, like willing to get to know me more, and it's like, oh, I didn't know you were going through that. I was like, oh, that's crazy. And growing up, I never had like an older brother figure, so I just want to thank you for even wanting to get to know me, you know, and trying to ask questions about me. Because for me, I've realized that I'm at this point, relationships and community is such a solid thing in my life right now. It's all about how I can help, how can I be there for people, how can I provide for people in whatever shape or form, whether it's this conversation, right? Who knows, after we finish recording this conversation, we'll be like, dude, I didn't know you thought about this. Oh, I didn't know you felt like this. Because that's what conversation is, right? Conversation is education in its core values. And if we're willing to be empathetic and learn, I think that's how we can become peacemakers in today's society. Especially so much is going on, whether it's in a classroom, whether it's outside the classroom, within different countries. It's like at the end of the day, we're still human, you know. So
you have very magnetic energy, man. I think ever since I first met you, I've always felt that from you. And so for you to even say that you're like thankful that I was, you know, even reached out to you in any sort of way, I mean, it's your energy was so loud that I felt like just drawn to you, man. So yeah, thank you for just always shedding your light and your childlike wonder.
Dude, childlike wonder,
yeah,
bro.
Man.
You know, like, so I was praying the other day, today, and then God put me on a question that I want to ask you. And for some reason, and I think this is a pretty good question, not gonna lie, bro. So, what has being in the Kinjaz taught you about brotherhood?
Oh my gosh, that's
because there's
so
many
layered.
people.
It's so layered.
Yeah.
I think no matter what, I don't think it's only Kinjaz, but I think Kinjaz, and for anyone who doesn't know what Kinjaz is, this is my dance company, and but most of the people that are in the company we're just close friends. Some of us are literally family, whether it's through marriage or by blood. So it's a kinship, hence the name Kinjaz. But I think as the years go on, we're about to be on year 15 right now, and we've gone through so many different stages. I think no matter what, communication is key, and I know everyone says that, but I think it's important to keep saying that, because I often find that even though everyone knows that communication is key in group dynamics, I feel like you get jaded to that, and then everyone gets, you can in human relationships or dynamics or group dynamics get so used to a certain type of dynamic that you like don't want to go through the motions of like communicating again over difficult topics. But I feel like you have to just keep chipping away at that thing. And so I feel like communication, it always ends up being like something complicated within a group dynamic or a relationship, and it always ends up being, we should just talk about it, we should just make time to talk about this, and we should address it, versus, oh, it's cool, we need to just go, we need to move, because obviously as life goes on you also need to keep moving faster, and as like the stakes get higher, whether it's in a company or the responsibilities of a group or individual responsibilities, because people have families, you tend to glaze over those responsibilities, or not responsibilities, but the understanding how important it is to make that time to like talk with each other. But I'm reminded that like it's always through that communication that you're like, damn, we just had to talk, and just to like clear that up and then massage it. Not so that you're even like fixing issues, but then when you reconnect with someone on a deeper level to try and maybe you had to address an issue, it also sets the momentum for moving forward way better. It's not just about even fixing it, but once you address something and you really hear each other, you can really get excited about something again. And that's like the only way you can move forward, is like with some sort of energy of excitement. Or that's not the only way. You can always force things forward because you have to, and that's life as well. But it's just more fun to move forward with momentum and better energy put into whatever you are cultivating.
It's I want to share this, bro. So this week work has been killing me. Like working with kids has been
must be so tiring, man. Draining.
So I had a 4th and 5th grader dog, and then one of the girls was crying out, and then she's like the older sister of like another sister, and I was like, what's going on, come here. She's like, oh, I'm okay. I was like, bro, I was raised in an Asian family too, so I know what you're doing, because I did that too. And then we sat down, and she was just saying that I can't feel anything here. I was like, what do you mean? I was like, I literally can't feel feelings. And I was like, how's your mind right now? It's like, I feel like I gotta do this. And this is a 5th grader dog. I feel like I can't go to my parents because I'm the oldest one. I gotta do this. If I can't get good grades, they might not like me. So all these thoughts are rifling and quarreling. And I just told her, like, thank you for sharing that, because I know it must have been hard for you even sharing this with me. And she went on saying, I can't trust anyone in my family, because if I share this, I feel like I'll be a disappointment. Vulnerability, especially in an Asian household, is such a I don't want to say like a hard topic, but just like, because at the end of the day, you gotta also empathize with our parents, because their parents possibly was like, you know what I mean?
Oh, 100%.
So when she was sharing that, I told her, like, sometimes, and I know it sucks, sometimes you gotta be the adult when your parents can't be an adult. And she's like, what do you mean? It's like, sometimes you taking that first step, sharing something uncomfortable, is the opener of you creating that fruitful relationship with your parents. And she's like, what? She's like, that's not fair. I was like, I know, but life isn't fair all the time. And she was like crying, sobbing. And I told her, like, I'm gonna give you some space, because right now, me always being here it could be a good thing, but I want you to also have your own time just to ponder and reflect on your thoughts and emotions. And then this fourth grader, my gosh, she's such. I had this, no, not fourth grader, another fifth grader. And then for some reason, I don't know, for some reason, we were sitting at like near the playgrounds, and he showed me Mr. Jonathan. And this is a guy who seems like, I got this all together, you feel me? And we always make jokes, and he's in the class, he's like known as the funny dude. And then for some reason, he heard the conversation I talked to with his classmate, and he shared with me, Mr. Jonathan, were your parents together growing up? I was like, no, my parents were divorced. And I was like, oh, why do you ask? It's like, can I share something with you? I was like, what is it? I feel very uncomfortable with the fact that my mom's new boyfriend and my dad's new girlfriend is trying to be the parental figure in my life. I was like, I'm sorry you feel that way. I'm sorry you're going through this. Because the fact that he was saying this to me, and it came out of nowhere, dog. I was like, what's going on? And he started crying. And this is a tough dude. And he started crying. I was like, let out, bro. Let out. And the reason I brought this up to you is because when you brought up, like, we can read different energies, and you know what I mean? And I'm like, the fact that I read my students' energies saying, like, oh, there's something. Like you're not normal, or like you're not who, what, you know, there's something going on. You can just tell, you can feel it.
Yeah.
And the fact that this week they shared that with me, man, like, I just bawled. I literally cried with them. And they're like, you cried, Mr. Jonathan? I was like, I'm human. What are you talking about? And they're like, you always tell us what to do. I was like, one day you're going to thank me, okay? One day you're going to thank me. I know it sounds annoying, but I know you're going to thank me, man. And
they call you Mr. Jonathan?
I told them this. You can call me Mr. Jonathan or Mr. Son. And
Mr. Son.
And I'm like, and they're like, Mr. Jonathan, why are you so short? I was like, what? Hold it. Say that one more time. I tell your parents on you right now. And when you work with kids, especially in a classroom setting, if it's like a 1-on-1 or a 2-on-1 or whatever, you start to build this like connection you never thought you can. And these kids, like, they just need someone to go through life with, that they can rely on. Yeah, man, it's just that's what you and the Kinjaz are, right? It's like making that time to connect, making time to go deeper, because at the end of the day, it's reminders of why you guys started as a group, why you started as Kinjaz and being that kinship or whatever. It's like sometimes we need to reflect that all the we can be so caught up on the tornado of the success and the money and all that, but sometimes that reminder of like our foundation, what we're built on, man, that brings it whole back. You know what I mean? So like, when you have time to connect with the people at Kinjaz, right? I'm just curious, and just literally just coming from my head, bro.
Yeah.
Like, was it difficult to share your life with them and walk in life with them?
You know, there was like, right now, there's been like eras of Kinjaz. So it's funny to have this conversation now because, as I mentioned before, this is our 15-year anniversary coming up.
Yeah.
And there was an era of Kinjaz where we had retreats every year. We had end of the year banquets, and then I would say since COVID happened, we haven't had a retreat or a end of the year banquet in like 4 years now, right? Which is crazy. And in that time, you know, to go back to your question, man, we got pretty vulnerable. I will say, like, I think that is, I'm just keeping it real. That was something that like we put a lot of thought into in facilitating that space. We called ourselves sensitive gangsters.
Dude, that's
Just
yo,
internally,
that's sick, bro.
just internally, because we were like, we know we can get shit done. We know
Yeah.
what we're good at,
Yeah.
but we also know like this is a space for people to just, man, when you just
That's
let
it.
thoughts fester in your mind, you
Mhm.
know. I'm not saying that it's therapy, but it's I think it's a form of therapy, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
to
yeah.
have whether it's these bonding sessions or these creative sessions or these moments where, especially on like some of our retreats, we would do all sorts of stuff, man. I think because the me and Anthony both were at Eayikes. We're part of like original
Yo,
Eayikes.
Anthony's
so
tall when I first met him. I was like, yo, dog, this boy looked like a tree or a bonsai tree or something, dog.
yeah, and so like we because we have that training, we brought that to Kinjaz, and so you know we would do all sorts of activities. We actually played the Eayikes card game at one of our.
Oh yeah, Ray told me.
Yeah,
about it.
and that was crazy. We had so many guys that we actually split into 2 rooms.
Yeah.
Because it would just take forever to play that card game with just
Yeah.
everyone at once. So we had 2 rooms. Man, the tears in both rooms, and when we got to share what happened in the other room and the vibes. Long story short, like we made space for that, and I think that's what was some of like the most beautiful times of Kinjaz. And in this era, we're actually kind of looking forward to planning our new crusade. It's actually happening at the end of this year in December.
Congrats,
and
man.
this is like our first crusade back since the pandemic.
Yeah.
And it's also the first crusade since also during the pandemic. I want to say that now nine Kinja babies have been born.
Dude, that's crazy.
And so, you know, like I think the timing of when all of us had all the time in the world to meet up every day or late night sessions and go camping. Pandemic happened, suddenly we got a crew full of fathers.
Yeah.
You know, like life happened.
Yeah.
And so yeah, man, I think there's chapters of life, and I think that I'm looking forward to being able to reconnect with everyone soon.
Yeah.
And I'm talking like the larger organization, whereas there's like a smaller group that still see each other all the time via the projects that we work on. But as far as like, you know, in the group chat, there's about 50 members in there.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Oh
Yeah, but I'm not saying everyone's active. You know?
Yeah.
This is just like since the beginning who at one point was active with the crew, you know? So, yeah, but that's life. I think the older you get, you realize like there's just different chapters and you just flow through.
What chapter are you in right now?
I would say transition. Personally, I would say I'm in a transition right now. I think I'm at that point where I've been dancing for about 20 years professionally. Damn. Yeah, that just kind of dawned on me. I fact-checked myself right now. And I was like, yeah, it kind of has been that long.
How does that make you feel to look back at that?
I'm very, obviously there's a lot of gratitude, but I'm also in that moment where I'm like, you know, what's next? What is this next chapter? There's all sorts of, you know, thoughts that cross through your mind. What is the next chapter of life? AI, social media, all these things. Do I want to stay living in Los Angeles? What do I want to stay living in the US? Just all sorts of things, planning for the future, where it's like all those dreams that you had as a 24-year-old perhaps shift, and it's like, I no longer want to live out the dreams of my 24-year-old self. Like I've changed so much, and now the things that I once wanted to do have shifted so much, and I'm just traversing life and asking myself, like, what is this next step? What are these things with all the variables of the world? But at the same time, how do I rekindle that childlike wonder, which points you in the right direction always, you know? It's
what's coming to my mind and heart right now is that, like, with what you said about connection, I'm curious about this. When you said that you got the ES game cards, right, and then split into 2 different groups, I'm just curious, what kind of questions were there Do you remember? Was like being asked to?
Man, it got really deep. Like I don't remember.
Were you expecting to go that deep?
Yeah, because I'd played before, of course. So we knew like where
you
it
guys
would go.
were getting yourself into.
Yeah, of course, for sure.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, that's why we had it. Like we tailored the weekend to kind of set up for that, you know. Like we're definitely not just going out there camping and that's it.
Yeah.
You know, not to say it's like a full itinerary weekend with the homies either, but there's definitely activities we had planned. I don't remember the specific questions, but it got to somehow, I don't know if this is an actual question, but like we also kind of finagled the game where if there was a good topic and a good energy, we're like, hey, everyone just answer this question. You know, we were just like, this is like a cool vibe.
Yeah.
And like somehow, I don't think this is an actual question, but we got here somehow. We got to the topic of, hey, how did everyone in this room get like disciplined by your parents? What was your parents' way of disciplining you? And we just everyone all described it. It was so cool to hear different versions. And you know, you get fellowship through that because there's like a handful of guys that are like, me too.
I got hurt.
Yeah, I got the
cried.
belt. I got the hanger. Oh, I got the throne stuff.
I got the bamboo.
Yeah. Or it's like I got put in the corner, and you're like, what?
It's like that's nothing. Maybe you should experience the belt.
But you know, just like I'm not even saying that was like the deepest of conversations. But that's just one of those hilarious yet deep moments that we all shared. But it went to so many different ranges. It went to, you know, just talking about hearing people, important people, most influential people in some of your homies' lives, and to just hear that from your friends, to childhood stories, to pivotal moments, embarrassing moments. I think those are all things that, you know, we grew so much closer, and especially when people are down to be vulnerable. Yeah. And it always helps when someone kicks it off. When someone kicks off like ultra vulnerability, they set the tone, you know what I mean? And then once someone kicks it off, everyone feels like empowered to do so. So shout outs to all the people in those scenarios that are like down to be vulnerable, because you're kind of setting the tone for everyone else in the room to be vulnerable.
Are you usually the first ones would be vulnerable, or?
I wouldn't say I'm usually the first one, but I wouldn't say I'm never the first one.
Yeah. It's like the reason why I ask is because usually like with my kids, they always look around like who's gonna share the most deepful, impactful moments of their lives, and then 30 minutes later, cry. Yeah. And I think what I love about hearing that is that there's this transformation of just like understanding I'm in the space with you, and I'm willing to walk in the same measurement as you. You know what I mean? And I think that's like there's a unique power in that, you know, of just like I may not know you for 3 years or 4 or 5 years, but man, that one day when we get to know and share each other's most vulnerable or most interesting quirks about ourselves, that brings the relationship closer.
1000%. You know? And I feel like you have a huge responsibility, because one thing I also think is overlooked is that I think there is such an art form and a skill set to facilitating those spaces versus so many people who might have the good intentions and try and set that up. But it's like, you know, it's like massaging a muscle and going straight in for the knot. Literally. Or like, you know, just like, hold up there. I'm going to like set this up, you know. Yeah. If you haven't set up the vibe in the room to do so, you can't be mad at people not wanting to share or be vulnerable, you know. Or maybe you get lucky and someone wants to. But it's also like understanding the vibes in the room, context, and then setting that up for people to want to be vulnerable.
You know, like I'm curious about this. Was it like you came from Taiwan, or was it from that tour? Taiwan or China?
I was in Hong Kong.
Yeah. Food is fire.
Oh, come on, man.
Food is fire.
Yeah.
Cry a little bit, and the price is hella cheap there. I'm curious about how long you was there for. Hong Kong.
I was in Hong Kong for so this trip was like kind of broken up because Hong Kong was like a sandwich to the trip. So I was in Hong Kong for 2 weeks, and then I went straight to China for 3 weeks, and then I went back to Hong Kong for about a month.
Which part of China, bro?
I was in Shanghai, Hangzhou,
Guangzhou,
Shenyang, and in Beijing.
Beijing.
Yeah.
Wow. So, oh my gosh. Let me ask you this. What would you say, like, when you went tour with, I'm assuming, people from Kinjaz, right? I'm assuming.
It was also all mixed up.
Okay.
So a majority of my Hong Kong stay was with Anthony, and then there was a couple weeks where I was by myself. And then the tour in China was with several Kinjaz.
Yeah.
At different times. It was all mixed up. Different projects. So
when you do tours like that, right? How do you stay grounded? Like, because I'm assuming your schedule could be like really like long for one day, and then the next day you take a breather.
Yeah.
So like, what do you do to just like ground yourself and be like, let me actually just enjoy where I am?
Honestly, like, just finding some version of a routine. Like, there was always bomb breakfast buffets. So I would go to the gym first. Yeah. Gym and then sauna. Oh. And then I had this routine where like I would gym it up, and then I would play chess on the treadmill.
Let's go.
And then
did the treadmill
sauna.
Beat you?
Huh?
Did the treadmill beat you with chess? Or did you beat the machine?
Honestly, I didn't make it past beginner level. But there was novice. There was novice and beginner.
Hey, we good.
And then I was like, I started feeling boost. I went to medium, and I was like, dude, I don't remember how to do, like, I don't know how to do castle and like all those, I'm very whatever's at chess. But it was just available on the treadmill, and it makes you not think about the treadmill.
So, when I think about, because I went to Kunming, Yunnan. That's like where my mom and dad was born at. Oh, cool. Highly recommend. Rice noodles are fire. There's like this village.
Is Yunnan more south?
I believe so. I'm not great.
Are you Mandarin or Cantonese?
Mandarin. Oh, okay. Yeah. So like, we went to Yunnan, Kunming, and then there's like this village, like 1 or I think 2 hours from where we were at. It's called Puzehe. Bro, they have like this water like festival, dog. You go into these like dragon boats, dog, and there's like, you see the whole mountains. Bro, I thought it was like Avatar, dog. I thought I was like, yo, I'm gonna be a firebender or a waterbender up in here. And then you just spray water at different people. They have like these water guns and whatnot. And then after that you see like barbecues and seafood barbecue and whatnot. And I was like, this is pretty cool. Very different from the US. Very different, very cheap. I like this. And what I love about that trip was it was my first time seeing my dad. Yeah, it was my first time seeing my dad in a while. I didn't have like no memories, bro. I remember when I first saw my dad, he grabbed my hand. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna die. I don't know this person, because I didn't know what he looked like. So I was like, what is this like I don't mean to be rude, but like I was like, yo, who is this like old fat dude holding my hand? I didn't know this person. Wow. And he was like, and then there's like grandpas and grandmas from our family, and they're like, oh, welcome and whatnot. I was like, I don't know you. Like, I'm not trying to be rude, but it was like very familiar.
How old were you at that time?
I think 18 or 19, dog. Yeah, so I was like, it was really weird, because that trip really like broke a lot of things. Understanding like, oh, there's a lot of drama here for sure that I don't want to have with my future family. Not saying I don't love my family. It was just like my perspective. There's some things I don't want to talk about, because they always talk about money and business and all that. I'm like, sometimes talking about that too much, could just like ruin the relationship, not just like with family, but just in general, and then I don't know about your dad, but my dad does this, like he felt guilt. Like I remember I forgave him, but then this one time we went to like this like Chinese mall. Bro, the malls are crazy. The architecture, it looks crazy. and then we went to Zara myself.
China malls are crazy.
Yo, I was like, is this a hotel? Even the movie theaters are crazy too.
4D
Dude,
movie theaters. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I was like, and then the sea shake. I was like,
there's mist that comes out in water.
Oh my
scenes.
gosh, I was like, I'm gonna sleep. I'm gonna die here. I'm gonna die here with my dad, and then we went to Zara with myself, my dad, and my sister. And my dad does this when he feels guilty. He's like, choose anything, I buy you. You know, sister went out like that, and I'm like, I'm good. I got pants and shirt.
Yeah.
Like, we're good. Like, I think like when I said that, he looked like me very confused. Like, don't you want it? I was like, I'm good. I got shoes. I got a shirt. And for me, I realized like as I got older now, I got my own job and all that, I'm becoming more independent. Like, materialistic thing isn't like, oh, must have it now. Yeah. Not saying like, hey, if I see a cool like shoe from Doc Martens, I'm like, okay, I like that. Yeah. But like, I don't hold it as like a necessity or like, oh, I need it, you know. And then I remember he's like, oh, here's some money. I was like, oh, I don't need it, but thanks, you know. But I don't need it, you know. It's just like
it's very Asian dad.
Yeah, Asian and they want to like provide as a way to not feel guilty. It's like, oh, here you go. Just by providing, the feeling of guilt they feel like might be put away.
And sometimes, I'm not saying this is, I want to assume, but my dad does this too sometimes where, you know, there's such a lack of communication that they can't express verbally. So like what other means do they have to show love, you know? And it's like, I will buy this for you. You know?
And I'm like, thank you, Dad.
It's their way.
I don't know. It's not even the right size. You forgot, but it's fine. No, but I actually want to talk about this. I remember you posted about your dad about, was it lost in a
Yes. So there was like a day. Oh my God! It's already been like 2.5 years since then. Has it been 2 years? Oh my God.
Dude, I shared that story real quick. I started praying for you, bro. I was like,
thank you, man.
I was like, that's crazy.
It was wild, man. There was a day, basically he was hiking, and it was like one of the few days that it snowed in LA, like ever. And then he didn't come home that night. And so, he was stuck up. He got snowed in deep on a hiking trail. And it was one of the most stressful things for my family for a couple days. We went through this whole police search for him, put his face was on the news.
Was it for a week? How long did it last?
So he was in the mountains by himself for 3 days, 2 nights. And you know, my dad's 74, and so he's, you know, ex-military. He regularly hikes. So I know he has a skill set, but I don't know with his age and the cold if he'd be okay. So it was kind of downplaying it right now because it was super crazy at the time. But it was man, a lot of things that go through your mind about faith, family, what to do, protocols on what to do if, you know, if the worst happens, you know, things you never want to think about, but you start to, like, your brain starts to go there out of just caring for the rest of your family, and you're like, oh my gosh, what will I have to take care of, you know?
Was that scary to think that?
Oh yeah, it was super scary for sure.
Was it like when you were having those thoughts, right, like, the anxiety built up, I'm assuming, about like, oh, what I have to do and all that?
Yeah, for sure. I think, you know, during those 3 days, I think it was kind of like a fight or flight mode where I felt like I couldn't even feel that anxiety because I had to just be on and just moving, because I felt like every minute we lost was like a moment of my dad being in the snow, lost, and like the slower we moved, the higher the chance that you know, we wouldn't find him. or that he wouldn't make it out. And so I kind of felt like there wasn't time to be anxious. Obviously, I was acting in a very anxious mode that entire time. But yeah, it was just that like super go mode. I was just in super go mode like the entire time. And then something that was kind of interesting though was that at the end of all of that, I was so bent on just solving that situation that I never cried. I never I felt like I didn't even have moments to vent or anything like that because we were just moving the entire time. But then I remember after we found him, then we had our dinner with the family and everything was, you know, happy ending, thank God. I took a shower, I remember, after that. And I remember just like thinking to myself, like, I kind of want to just like yell right now. Like that was such a fucking crazy like 3 days. And so like in the shower, I just like right when I started to yell in the shower, like I just uncontrollably like started crying, right? And I was like, boom, and I was like, and I felt like all these like tears. I was just like, and I felt like that was like for like 10 seconds though, but it was highly intense, but really short. And then I was like, and then I went, and then I remember it was just like, whoa. It was almost like that was literally just kind of like packed in, and then I was kind of like suppressing it, and then it just came out just because it needed to come out. I wasn't even like sad because even in the shower I just felt like I was like, I feel like I need to like yell because you're just drained from such a crazy moment. And then it just went boom, came out, and then once it was out, I was like, I just felt like, you know, like when you wake up from like scissor lock, you ever got that before? It was like it's like a freaking demon just came out or something, and I was just like, but then I was like, whoa, that was cool though, like to like let that out. But damn, that was a lot. But I'm glad that it came out. And then I like to journal, so obviously I like journaled a lot too, and those are my own versions of self-care, just to kind of like let out your thoughts, because I feel like it's important to not let thoughts fester in your mind and not be tangible anywhere else. So whether it's like meditation for some people, prayer, journaling, I think like once thoughts go out into the, you know, into some tangible form of existence, it's like it's healthy because it helps you realize so many things, or it's just cathartic in its simplest form to let it out.
Follow these socials: Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. The support really means a lot. Thank you so much. And that was your first time letting that all out, or?
Yeah, I mean, just for, you know, in that instance, regarding my dad, you know, because that was just like a hyper. It was only 3 days, but you know, it was insane. Like I was on the news, all my friends were texting me. I had like the craziest moment that I wanted, that like I felt an emotional, or besides that shower moment, the other moment I felt something, but I couldn't really take it in because I had to move so fast. Was when we didn't think to go to social media about it until basically like I found out that like it was like some sheriff's department that made the call that it wasn't deemed a priority enough to call a helicopter to go search for my dad. And so when I found that out and I knew it was going to be sundown again, I was kind of just really stressing. I was like, oh, the second night of my dad in the mountains is really scary. And now that I know they're not sending a helicopter, like how do I make this a priority for you know, any police department or the powers that be? And that's when it's just like, all right, what if I blast this on social media, you know? And so I just like wrote this whole thing on social media about it. And I didn't think about it actually,
Mm.
because I was just nonstop on the phone with different police departments.
Yeah.
And I just posted it online and didn't think about it. Went back to just being on the phone with different police departments, etc. And by this time, I don't know. And I did like this like news interview in my kitchen. It was wild. And then, oh no, sorry, I'm mixing up timelines, because I didn't do the news interview, because when we put that out there, when I checked back on social media, maybe it was like an hour later, my entire timeline was just nothing but my post and all my friends reposting that, and that really like hit me, just to feel that like support from everybody, friends and even strangers alike. So that was a moment that was also very, very impactful.
You
just
know,
to feel that support.
like what this is Chinese words like 你的心, that's mean your heart, right? 很感动 means like very emotional, like that's when it hits. What I'm hearing is like 你的心 is like got really hit when you see all these friends of yours and strangers helping you out. And that's what grace, that's what community is all about. I'm just curious about this with your family after when you found your dad came back home. What was, when you saw him, what was your mind and emotions going through?
Well, I mean, I broke down crying.
Yeah.
When the police told me that they found him, I broke down crying, saw my dad. I felt like in that moment, I almost viewed him like a kid.
Yeah.
It was a moment where, I looked at him like, man, you just stressed me out so much right now.
That's
the
real
irony,
talk.
The irony is like, oh
That's real
man,
talk.
that's what I did to you my whole life.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, it's just utmost gratitude the entire time, and just life, and just I had toyed with the possibility in my mind of like, you know, what if I don't get to have this conversation with my dad again, you know? And so lots of gratitude. We do like these 1-year anniversaries of finding my dad with my family now. It's pretty cute, just like a recharge for the family.
When you like reflect on those moments, right, of like those 3 days and was it 3 nights and 2 days or something? Yeah, like
no, 2 nights, 3 days.
2 nights, 3. I knew that. I knew that. Like when you reflect on that, those moments of like the questions of like, oh, what's gonna happen? What is my dad like? Is this or is it like? All these thoughts start like venting and starts being on your mind. Like, I'm just curious about this. How did your mom feel about it throughout that whole process?
I mean, she was super panicked. I feel like me and my sister, we're both very, I think via our work and just the kind of people we are, we're kind of used to different types of like stressful situations. And so, and just more than stressful, I should say like high pressure situations. And so we were just on it. We just knew we had to be in go mode.
Yeah.
And my mom was kind of just like a wreck.
Yeah.
So it was just like, we just made sure she bared no responsibility in any way, and just we made sure to let her know that we would handle it.
I think like I want you to know though that, and this is coming from my heart, dude, like like God was watching out your family. I want you to know that. I truly want you to know that, man. Like, and we were just talking about like relationships, spiritual, religion, whatever. It's like, and I was just sharing with you, you like for the time from last time we have talked, I've like going through a spiritual, like just like Jesus kind of whatnot. You feel me? And I wasn't born as a Christian, but I just want you to know that, like, man, like sometimes, especially in today's culture, we don't know how to have an empathetic conversation, especially regarding to like different culture, different religion, different understanding. But I just want to plant a seed in your heart that Jesus was literally caring about your family, man. I just felt like I gotta share that with you. It's that, like,
yeah, I definitely feel like you know, I don't identify as Christian, but you know, I grew up in church.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. And
that's I did it.
Yeah. And so I still identify with spirituality, and I know that, yeah, I'm very thankful for how things turned out. And I know that whatever powers that be, just said that it wasn't my dad's time yet.
Yeah. Like I'm just curious now. You've mentioned that you grew up at church. I just have so many questions now. It's like what was it? Okay, I'm sorry. I don't know if this is rude, but just hear me out, bro. Did they this is why I always like to do like warning. But like, did they force you to go to church? I'm just curious, bro.
Yeah, I guess so. Just like any sort of, like, you know, just like you're forced to go to school when you're a kid. You know what I mean? It's
get good grades and whatnot.
One of the things that your parents believe is the right decision for you.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Was it like, whatchamacallit, did when you look at that, when you started going to church, like, did it like, because you did say like you still understand like the spiritual things and whatnot, like,
yeah, I still pray.
Yeah.
I think it's so ingrained in me that I still pray, but I'm open to meditation as well, and other forms of some version of, whether it's release or internal conversation, or even just moments of giving gratitude. Like, I to be honest, I don't actually pray so much to ask for anything, but I do want to pray for, I feel like I need to pray in moments of gratitude. Yeah.
Dude, that's good, man. Even some people that I know who's Christian, they don't even be very thankful, honestly. So like the fact that like you have that is like, that takes a level of consciousness and awareness you have, like, oh, you know what I mean?
I feel like it's also like the subconscious, you know, even though I don't go to church anymore, that like indoctrination as a child is like burned into your being. You know? And so I feel like it's almost like it's that church voice in your head that's like, you don't even go to church, so you can't ask for anything. Why would you ask for anything?
Yeah.
But when you eat and you like, you just have a meal in front of you, you're like, it still feels weird to just like, just jump right in. Right. You know?
That I get that, because like
I just want to give thanks to add some energy.
Yeah. It's like when I started like to pray, of just like being thankful for the food, right? Because food brings people together. I remember like just having Kamayan feast, or just like having, you know what I mean? Just grabbing your hand and me just like, yo, this is cool. Using your hand, no fork, no spoon. You know, it was like, yo, this is pretty dope. And you just hear and just have some like intimate, amazing conversations too. And when I like eat food, it's like, man, I'm so blessed to even have food. Because I like, for me, when I pray, I'm like, God, thank you so much for even allowing these ingredients entering this body. do its purpose to take care of each member of this body. Because like I said, like I had a kidney transplant when I was younger, bro. So like health was a big thing growing up for me, because like whatchamacallit, like I always joke around, but in reality, like I always say my first home was at Children's Hospital in Los Angeles, because I remember having like literally tubes here, bro. Dude, I have like a hole here, homie. Yeah, and then like because when you have a kidney transplant, right? I was like a baby, and then I wasn't big enough to do like, I guess, like bigger like cutouts or whatnot. So, dude, I love your face, because that's like most people's face react to this. So like I remember like just like shots over here, shots over here, tubes here, and then tubes up in my nose. And when you go through that experience when you're a kid, you're like, you look at the view of health very differently.
How old are you?
Bro, I was like, I think I was 3-4 years.
Damn, you remember that still?
When you go through something like that,
damn,
you know,
that's crazy.
And then I'm gonna be honest, one of the best thing was the food, because like at they don't have it right now, but in Children's Hospital in LA, they had like McDonald's, bro. So I was like, no, for real, bro. So like, I was,
good thing they don't have it anymore.
Like they don't, I'm so sad they don't have it anymore. But back then, bro, like I will order like chicken soup, homie. And I was
meal on the new kidney, you're like, chicken nuggets, baby.
And I was like, I would even drink like Gatorade, dog. Yeah. And then like I was like,
you want some flavor on Cheetos?
Yo, I was like, it was crazy. I don't know, it was like those moments made my day.
Yeah, but delicious. Yes.
Yeah, it was like, I'm loving it, you know. And then like after, when you go through that whole situation, especially when you go through like needles stuck in your body and you can't move and you can't even get out of your bed like the way you want to. You have to like make sure the tubes are still intact with the machine. Yeah. And then I remember like my mom would just walk me to the restroom at like every time, and just even I remember like just laying down hurts, you know. And I remember the person that was staying in the same room with me, he was like the same age as me, and we were like, dude, we're like, I don't know what his name was, but like we were like friends and joking around. We were like playing with Legos too, bro. And then I remember like one of the best moments I enjoyed is that they would have like therapy dogs coming.
Oh, what?
Oh, bro, dude, eating McDonald's and having therapy dogs,
that's amazing. Oh my god,
it made me feel like these things wasn't here. Like I still have a heart. And when you just like realizing that this body has been given to me regardlessly of like kidney transplant, it makes you just view like, man, like, yes, I could have lived with one kidney, but someone decided to donate their kidneys to me. I'm just so blessed to even do that, you know, even receive that, you know. And like that's why, like, for me, I'm very, I don't want to say picky on what I eat, but experiencing that, it just changes your whole trajectory of like health and fitness and specifically my kidneys, you know. Yeah, just like, I don't know, it's like when I think about that, like I've been given this one body, I gotta do my best to take care of it, because I've seen other people who unfortunately weren't like blessed to even receive a kidney, you know. And then like question is like, God, like, why'd you even do that to me? Like, you know?
Yeah.
It's like I don't deserve it. You know, all the good things, like even this podcast, even like have the fact that I'm able to pay my team, like that's not, that has to be a blessing, you know. The fact that I have a job I love, like finding a job here, finding a job you love that pays well and benefits, like I can't be in charge of that, you know what I mean? Because like when you have this one body who can listen well, who can talk at its momentarily, the fact that we're conversating, we were praying. I was praying with Zeke and Liz. I was like, God, like, let this conversation be fruitful and around you and of you. And I don't know if this is okay to say, bro, but whatever that made you leave church and whatever caused you hurt or pain or church hurt, that's not from God. Because I experienced church hurt. Like there's some people at church, I'm like, you need help. Like, I don't think you're representing God's kingdom really well, you feel me? And I just want you to know that, like, he yearns for that childlike wonder, like you were saying. Like, he doesn't expect you to become perfect. He doesn't expect you to be like A, B, and C. When you're hurt, he's like, come bring your burden onto me. Take my yoke upon you. You know?
I appreciate that, man.
So, like, I just thought I should let you know because
I feel like church, just like anything else.
Yeah.
I wouldn't blame anybody and say that that's what church is. I think just like how, you know, there's bad representatives of everything. You know what I mean? I think it'd be foolish to be like, that's what church is, or that's what school is, or that's what LA is. A definitive
you
know?
Definition of it, yeah.
But, yeah, man. Thank you. I think spirituality
I get you.
is a very, you know, such a complex topic.
It is, bro. Yeah.
I do feel like, I don't know, just touching on even what you were just saying earlier, like, I do feel like something I've been thinking about nowadays is like that voice in your head that tells you don't deserve things. It's like, man, sometimes we can be really mean to ourselves.
Oh my gosh, dude.
Like, why do you feel like you don't deserve that kidney? You know, but I'm not really asking that only because I understand, like, man, we all have this voice in our head that's so mean to us.
It's
right?
like a bully, you know.
Exactly. I had this conversation with my wife
that.
all the time.
Yeah.
We say that we have different, like, when we talk about our brains and our beings, like, we talk about how, like, she has someone that like there's like this, we give them names. I know this sounds crazy, but like her evil voice in her head, I've named it VM Varga because it's do you watch Fargo? Have you seen Fargo?
I haven't in a while.
So Fargo, the TV series, and in season 3, there's a dude. The antagonist's name is VM Varga. Okay, and he comes in and becomes like takes over the company. And so we just liken that to the bad voice in my wife's head, and I was like, VM Varga, like, there's a time and place for a harsh voice sometimes in your mind, but he's not the CEO of your company. He's in your head. Don't let him take over. Says all these super mean things to you in your head. And then for me, it's we've named mine Gilligan. Like Gilligan's Island.
I love the character names, dog.
Because mine versus being super mean,
Yeah.
It's like always wandering and can get lost, you know, and like it can get led astray. And so she's like, it's Gilligan. And it's like, but then we acknowledge these aren't things that you can like delete in your mind. It's a natural part of your brain, because you can also go down that rabbit hole of hating the fact that you are mean to yourself, and then you're being hard on yourself again. And you're like, why am I being so? And then it's like, no, it's okay. Everyone has some version of that. But I don't know. When you just said you didn't deserve a kidney, I was like, oh, I feel that voice too in my own ways. And it's so funny how we all have that really mean voice. We're so mean to ourselves, and it's like, you deserve that kidney. That deserve that.
Like,
why is there that voice that we all have in different ways? Why? It's so mean to us.
It's like when that, well, you're Gilligan. You know, like Gilligan. Let's say, like, what do you think Gilligan has said the most meanest thing? Then? I love the name, by the way. It's like,
for me, because, you know, the reason why she was able to identify Gilligan and I identify Varga is, you know, me and my wife, we have a lot of, I feel like we therapy each other pretty deeply. And and we're able to talk about some pretty go to the depths.
That's good.
Very regularly, and I feel like hers is often like she's very mean to herself in her mind, and then mine, when I go through my stages, oftentimes it's a questioning of if I'm going the right way, and so Gilligan,
Yeah.
because he got his. I mean, I don't know, because you know Gilligan's Island, right?
I don't know,
Okay,
bro. I'm trying.
It's all good. Gilligan's Island's that old. That's why I just had to check myself, because you might not know. That's an old show.
Yeah.
But
I'll check it out after.
Yeah, no, it's okay. It's a super old show. It was even like old for me. Like, but it's basically, the premise is like this dude that like they're just lost on an island.
Yeah.
And Gilligan's just like this goofball. He's like yeah. Anyways, and that's my guy, because he's just like. It's like, am I going the right way? And there's always some deep rabbit hole version of that that can be really harsh. And it's oftentimes my wife who's like, this is the way, and you're finding it. And,
She
she's
sounds like a personal Yoda dog.
She's calming me down, and she's like, it's okay. Like, this is the journey. And she's like, often plays that, or helps me in that way.
Yeah.
And I'm often like, I imagine I literally grab VM Varga, her evil voice, and I pretend it's like a thing on her shoulder.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's doing that thing again.
And do you flake it? I will flake it.
No, actually, I go much more drastic. I grab it.
Yeah.
And have you seen Ip Man?
Oh.
In Ip Man?
Which one though?
Ip Man 1.
Okay.
In Ip Man where like over the rice bag.
Oh.
And he like he gets that guy.
Yeah.
And then he goes.
Boom. Dude,
and
that was a sick scene, bro.
Bloody. So I basically do that with VM Varga. I go, just doing that thing again. We'll be like walking our dog and just like we're talking about this, and as we're walking, like, let me get VM Varga.
You're like,
not the CEO.
Why are you doing this?
Not the CEO. Like, you can't kick him out because he, it's natural. But God, don't let him run the show.
I think like the fact that when we have these thoughts of like, especially like saying like, you don't do this, like I hate you, or like, you know what I mean? Like trying to beat yourself down. It's like, I have a hard time. It's like, is that like the negative side of me, or is that like the humble side of me? You know what I mean?
Oh, that's a slippery slope.
Because you're like, you know what I mean? Because like, is that me being humble, or is that me like literally hating on myself? Because sometimes I'm like, I think like this humble, like, oh, you don't deserve that right now. It's like, oh, that could be humility, right? And I'm like, wait, is that from me? You know what I mean, though?
I know exactly what you mean. I think that is the double-edged sword of like, sometimes I think we've been programmed to, a lot of people are programmed to be like, that's what I need to do. Like, if I don't have that voice, I'm not going to get anything done. I can't just be like, I'm the man all the time, right?
Yeah.
But then I think it's such a, the scale can be tipped so easily, not knowing when that voice is good and when it's not. But oftentimes, in my opinion, that voice finds a way of tipping the scale really far before you even realize it's not good for you anymore. But he's tipped it so much that you're like, wait, this is preventing me from even doing anything. This is not doing me any good. And so then you got to tip it again, and then you're riding that, that ego scale of like, I got to be boosted about myself too. But then you're like, oh, there I went again, being too boosted on myself, and I did something careless, and I think that's like the journey of life, of course. But we can't be too mean to ourselves, man.
Man.
If it leads to inactivity, then what's the point?
Exactly.
That voice did nothing for you.
It's like, I remember when, let's say if I had a bad day with my students, right? And if I'm like hard on myself, I'm like, man, maybe you should have not said it this way, or maybe you should have taught a specific lesson, but not that one. And I've realized, I'm like, man, like if I'm so holding up like the what ifs or all that, it's like I'm not enjoying the present. Does that make sense? It's like the what ifs and whatnot. I started to realize like, oh no, those were meant to happen because God planted those. But it's like, it helps me just to realize that like, oh, even though like I battled my thoughts and my emotions and all that, it was meant to happen this way, you know, instead of like, oh, you know what I mean? Because you're just keeping constant fighting, dog. And I was like, sometimes I'm like, why am I wrestling my thoughts and my emotions all the time? Why can't I just be like, okay, it's like let it happen. If it happens, dive deep into it. Don't try to run from it. Dive deep into it. What is the root of it? You know, because like when I see my students having like, you know, punching their thoughts and emotions is all these mixtures like, am I gonna get that A? And if I don't, will my parents be disappointed? Oh, I got all F's. Does that mean I'm not successful? And I'm like, bro, you're 5th grade. I literally told them, your grades don't matter right now. No, I literally told them, I was like, your grades don't matter. Your grades matter when it's high school. Yeah. So don't tell your parents I said that though. You know? And they're like, really? I was like, I want you to still try in school, but like just want you to know that. Yeah. And they're like, you're the best. I was like, no, don't say that. You're gonna tell your parents. I know that. and I think like what's like in my mind right now is that I'm just curious about this, bro. Like with Addy, with your wife, right? The fact that you guys are like helping each other out. I'm curious about like the therapy part, right? It's like, did it took a certain moment or even time to even develop to the point that like, I'm gonna be there, let me listen and hear you out? Yeah. Did it took some time to develop that?
Like what to like? Sorry, just to like. What do you mean by that?
Like, did it took some time to develop to the point that like, let me hear you out, or was it like instantaneously like, oh, I already know what to do? Like, for example, if Addy's here, right? It's like, if she's sharing something like wholesome or even like something that's been tiresome, do you go automatically like, oh, let me listen with care? Because some people can listen but they don't care and their mind is drifting off rather being present. You feel me?
I think my version of that I had to be better at, and I feel like I've put in some work is my knee-jerk reaction used to always be like, why don't you try this? Why don't you know? And then she's like, shut up, can you just listen? I'm like, but now I'm like, nah, that's hella true, I get it, that's hella annoying, why would I just
why am I giving you so much advice? Oh my gosh.
But like that's what you younger self just think that's the way to help, you know? And then as you get older, you're like, wait, it's like so helpful to just, for anyone to just like say that out loud and feel like someone cares. That's so much more therapeutic and actually helpful than being like, why don't you try this, you know? So that's something I've definitely learned over the years with Addy. Yeah, she's always been great at listening.
What do you think she has taught you most about listening?
To shut up and listen.
Just listen, all right?
Just
okay?
listen.
You're being
just
a jerk.
Like, just
okay?
listen. Stop trying to solve it.
Was that hard for you when she said that? Like,
you know what I realized?
Because I was a problem solver.
What I realized is in the beginning, like I was like, oh, that's just how I am. And then I'm like, wait, why do I do that? And then I realized at first you feel kind of helpless to just let it sit in silence, like to not say anything. I realized there was this kind of like, am I doing nothing by not saying anything? I'm in there, I'm listening, but like if I don't say anything, like, am I not helping you at all? And that makes me feel, before that used to make me feel like I'm not doing enough. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so I think that was the learning curve. And then realizing, oh, you're doing more than enough by listening and caring and honestly asking more questions, more than being like, hey, blah 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 blah, you should do this, have you tried this? It's more like going deeper into like, well, why do you feel like that, you know? And like, why do you think this happens, and like how often does this happen?
Did your parents do that to you when you were growing up, or were they like just have you like do this, do that? Like, do they ask you like, oh, how come you feel that way? Or because
right.
because like Asian parents we were like
definitely not, definitely
you know
not.
what I mean?
Definitely not, but I don't blame them.
Yeah.
The older I get, it's just generational differences.
Do you think
they said, yeah, I'll buy you this?
Stop talking about it. I feel very uncomfortable with
they're
your
like, I don't know how to do
emotions
this,
right
but you can buy anything you want here.
Next thing you know, it's like I do want something, and it's like honestly, when I first met you and Addy together, it's like there's this like I don't know how to explain. It's like a bond that you guys been through roller coasters with each other, and there's trust. I'm just curious, how would you say this? Like for anyone's listening to this episode, like how do you build trust with people? Yeah. Just with people. Yeah.
I think trust builds over time and experiences with each other, challenges with each other. There's also, but I don't think there's like a solid definition either. I don't want to be like, this is how you build trust.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's just a bunch of different variables, or sometimes you just get a vibe. You can also build trust, and trust can be broken. And so I think time is one thing that can build trust. I think the type of times and experiences you share with someone build trust, because you get to just experience things together, be challenged together. But also sometimes just the vibe, and you just meet someone and you're like, I trust you.
Yeah.
So I think I don't really have an answer that's like works in every situation, because trust is a complex thing.
Do you think that when you put in trust, wait, actually, let me rethink about this. When you think about trust, do you think you gave trust easily to your parents? If I don't know if that's okay. I'm just.
Do you think I gave trust to my parents?
Yeah. Because for me, I'm coming from when I teach kids, right? Because the fact that what I shared earlier, like, oh, I don't think I can trust my parents to share like my hurts or my worries. Like, were you able to build that connection of like sharing like these like hurts growing up, or you kept it to yourself?
This is just my opinion. I feel like the older I got, I became less concerned with having my parents mold to my needs and trying to adjust more to the people that they are. Oof. Because I feel like I am better equipped, and I only say that because it's like they worked their ass off to equip me to be version 2.0, right? And so as they get older, like, why should they have to mold so much harder to my needs when like I've had it way easier than them. They've worked so hard to put me in a position to have it way easier than them. So like I don't need them to push so hard to be the type of parent that I want them to be. I'd rather just meet them where they are and just try and make sure like this chapter of their life is awesome.
That's beautiful, man. That's like poetry right there. I feel like I should just write this down and for my students to see. It's like Mike Son. Poetry from Mike Son. I'm
not saying I'm successful at that all the time, but it's just I do honestly feel like I used to wish my parents were a certain way, but now I'm like, and I also feel like as I get older, I realize like it's going to be so much harder each decade, each 5 years. I get so much more set in my beliefs, and I'm not saying that I can't be shaken from them, but it will be harder too. And so I'm like, so what will I be like at age 70? It will be so hard to keep molding. Yet younger version of me will be so much more equipped to be more flexible.
Yeah.
So why don't they meet me halfway? You know what I mean?
I'm curious about this. Let's say future Mike's 70 years old, right?
Mm-hmm.
What do you think that... And I'm not going to ask like the basics like, oh, what are you going to tell your younger self and whatnot.
Yeah.
But I'm just curious about when you are 70, what would you want to... What kind of question... Why not? How would you want a conversation to be like with your parents? Let's say you're in the same age. Let's say you're 70
and they're 70. So time has frozen.
Yeah, time has
I've
frozen.
cryogenically frozen my parents.
Yeah, that's...
I was like, I need them to be around.
Yeah, exactly.
I need them to wake up in the future and freak out.
hey, Back to the Future. I'm just saying, yo. You feel me?
Okay. I have frozen them.
You
I have
unfrozen them.
And now I'm 70. And I wake them up.
Yes.
I'm like, surprise.
And they'd be like, why you wake me up? Why? I was enjoying my peace.
Okay, And so, sorry, what's the question though?
So like, what would you say or even ask to them?
Sorry, I can't get this visual out of my head.
No, it's just, I get you.
Freezing chamber. I mean, how could I know? How could I know what my questions would be at age 70, man?
But like if we...
What do I think I would say?
Yeah. What do you think you would say though, or ask?
I mean, it'd probably be like a million different versions of like, I get it now. You know,
I'm sorry.
Yeah, like there's probably so many versions of that, but it's such a hard. I can't.
Yeah.
I can't predict that because there's no way I'll know. Like it's just gonna be so many versions of. Damn, they were right.
Can I share what I would ask?
Okay.
I think if I were in the same age as my mom, right, and let's say 70, I think I would have said like it must... I would have said this. I think it's like, oh, it must have been hard for you being a single mom. Yeah, I think I would have said that because like the reason why I asked, I think like for me to be able to be more empathetic and vulnerable to my mom, because nowadays I've been more doing that. I've been more vulnerable and being more empathetic to my mom, even though we may have disagreements in the eyes and we know we see things differently, but like I would have said like it must have been tough on you, you know. I heard this somewhere. It's like sometimes when parents are harder on us, it's because maybe as children we weren't easy to take care of, you know. And then I think a question I would also ask to my mom is that like I know this cliche, bro, but like are you proud of me? Like I know like that's, you know what I mean? It's like I know that's like the like cliche Asian question, like are you proud of me? But like I, you know, sometimes like just having that confirmation is like, do you think I did well? You know? Can
I ask you like,
yeah,
why would you wait until 70 to ask both of those questions?
I think like I said, like I'm still working on being vulnerable with my mom, because like growing up, my mom's like arguments, plates on the ground, so there's this like hindrance. I feel like I'm kind of fearful being vulnerable to my mom, if I'm being honest, because of like the possibilities. What happens? She's got home late, very busy, and if I share something, she's like,
I see.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I don't know if like that's the humble me, you know what I mean? And it just, I think the reason, just to answer your question, is like, I think the reason why I wait till I'm 70 or whatever age I ask is that I need to build intimacy with God and my mom. Yeah. Because the way I treat and how I view God and the way I treat my mom is a reflection of how I treat myself. You know, it's like if I'm not even able to be vulnerable with my mom, or if I'm not willing to be vulnerable with God, then certainly it's going to be difficult for me to be vulnerable with my future spouse or my friends. You know what I mean? Like that close-knit village type of thing, you know? Like that's why, like, when I was in the same tribe as you, it's like, oh, this is cool. You know, it's like right off the gates, what's your insecurities? I was like, I'm insecure about my height. I don't know how deep are you going, you know? And because when you share something about like insecurities, right? It could be very surface level, but it could be as like deep,
sure.
You know?
For
like
sure.
It could be like
You're setting the tone.
Exactly. It's like it's either I go level 1, like I'm insecure by my looks, but for some people that's a level 3. But for me that's like a level 1, but level 3 could be like I'm insecure that I'm not intelligent. I'm insecure that I'm not loved.
Yeah.
You know, and being able to start even processing my emotions and thoughts and sharing that to my mom, it took a lot of praying, I'll be honest. I'm like, I know you told me to honor my father and mother, but is this the way you want me to honor my father and mother, just to share some vulnerable parts? Because I ain't doing that. It's hard, you know, especially what I saw, you know. But I had to look at it in a perspective. It's like, my mom is human, dog. She was the only one who's in the hospital. I don't have a lot of family here, you know. And the fact that now I have, like, you know, this team, and when I go to church and when I go to like Eayikes, it's like God bless me to even enlarge my like just people, you know. We're in the whole tribe, you know, even though it's different sections, like nowhere, you know what I mean?
I don't know, I feel like you just got incepted to me right now, and I feel like if you told your mom, like, acknowledge that it was very difficult for her to raise you as a single mother, I feel like it would be very meaningful for your mom, man. Might take the right context in which you present that. Yeah. But I bet it would mean a lot. That's probably one of her favorite accomplishments in life. So to get acknowledged for that, sometimes we forget that, like, I find myself like sometimes complimenting, I don't even just mean parents, just like people that I view as mentors, and sometimes when you give them some sort of acknowledgement, not like a surface level compliment, but like a real acknowledgement, you remember that, and you see how much it impacts them. It makes me realize, like, oh man, the older people get and the more mentor parenting type roles they kind of don't get it put in a position where they get acknowledged for things as much anymore. You do a lot of thankless things, and so then I'm reminded when I kind of thank certain mentors or parents, and you kind of see this like look on their face, almost kind of taken aback. You're like, damn, they need to hear this still too. It's not like they need to stop getting that encouragement. It's not just kids that need it, you know.
That's real talk, because like when my mom loves hearing when I say, like, oh, thank you for cooking, this food's good. Like, a mother hearing that, especially Asian mom just hearing that, it's like, eat more. You know, that's you know what I mean? That's a soul, because when moms cook, it's like, I want to make sure my child is fed well, regardless of the relationship where it is, regardless life situation. But my job as a mother is to feed you, and I would do my best with the best ingredients, and I will make and put so much love and heart into that.
Cooking is time.
Not only cooking is time, but it's like it's a language, you know.
Time and variables and alchemy,
and then like different ingredients, and then it's like, I love you. The potatoes are like, I love you, and then the Sichuan pepper is like, I will kick your butt.
It's a whole science experiment.
You know
love
what I mean?
And science all mixed into one, and then it manifests into an experience.
But
flavorful experience.
It's like, I don't know. It's like that's how I view relationships nowadays, man. It's like, that's the whole thing about this podcast, is like bringing people, whether they believe in the same idea as I want them to feel the love of God and see, and just let them know, like, regardless, disagree, agree, I will serve you and I will be there. I'll be present. And I think that's what we need more nowadays. Be present, let me listen, let's learn. Whether we agree or disagree at the end, I will still show you love.
Absolutely.
Because there's a whole entire generation stuck with TikTok and all that. I think they need, I always tell my kids, like, hey, there's a world more than just TikTok. There's a thing called grass. You can run on it, And the fact that I'm able to share and learn and cultivate this relationship and just be like, yo, Mike, I love you not because of our last names, but even though I think I'm Korean, I truly want you to know, speaking from my heart, dude, like, I never thought I would have a podcast bringing people on who I watched on YouTube making sick choreo and like dancing skills, but we are more than our merit. We are more than our status. We are more than our job titles. Because at the end of the day, we are not important because of X, Y, and Z or what we do, but it's because you're just a human. You're human. And I just value this friendship, man. I just want you to know that, because I think like having older brothers and just having that correlation of a family foundation is something that that's gonna be ingrained in my heart forever, man. So thank you for being on the podcast, Doc.
I do. Thank you for having me, man. You have a lot of love to give. I feel, and I'm sure you're like drained.
I am.
Week in and week out from showing so much love to the kids.
I am peeing right now.
I
I'm
know,
playing.
I know. I know you literally have so much. It must be so drained, but I still feel like so much love every time I interact with you, and I feel like that's your superpower. That's the power that clearly you've gotten from your mom as well, and so I just want to just give you those props, man. I always feel that from you, and that's something that is unique through all my interactions. And everyone has different superpowers, but you have a radiant energy, a childlike wonder, and just a love that you always show, man. And just like a vibrant excitement about life. But it's not necessarily an overly just positive for no reason. Just like a genuine excitement for life, and it makes me feel a version of that as well too. It's contagious. So yeah, man, thank you for having me on here.
Yeah, man. So with that being said, everyone, thank you so much for listening to episode 14. We have some amazing guests lined up for season 2, and let us have not only fruitful conversations, whether we disagree or agree. I pray that whoever we bring on, they can just sense a piece of love from God, but more importantly, just to let them know that this is what it's all about.
Yeah.
This is what it's all about. Yeah, what's up? Gangsta. What? Please cut it off right now. This is very awkward for me.